Congressman Curbelo, I think the too bad Carlos from the president may have been understood. He didn't say it out loud, but that seemed to be what he was saying. So what's your reaction to that? What was your reaction to that? Now you've had a little bit of time to process it. What was your take?
Well, I really don't think the president understands what happened in these midterms, especially not in suburban America, the types of districts that I have been able to represent for 4 years. I was actually the top performing Republican in my district, getting just over 49% and losing a pretty close race. The other Republicans, Governor Scott got about 44.5 in my district, and Governor-elect DeSantis, both friends of mine, got about 45.5. So, in fact, most of the voters in my district appreciated that I had my own brand, an independent brand, and that I've been someone who, during my 4 years here, whether the president has been Trump or Obama, always called it honest, held them accountable, worked with them when they were doing things that were good for my community and the country, and also opposed them when I needed to.
So let's talk a little bit about where the Republican Party goes from here, because as you rightly pointed out, it was a different kind of election. I spoke with former Majority Leader Eric Cantor last week, and he was talking about, this idea that the suburbs, especially the Republican strongholds of the suburbs, really changed over the course of these midterms. And it certainly has been something of a bifurcation, it feels like, in the party. Where does it go from here, and how worried are you about the state of the party at this moment?
I am worried because the Republican Party, when it's been very successful in the past, has been when it's been a solutions-oriented party, right? We have major challenges always in this country. Right now, it's immigration, the environment, the national debt, the future of Social Security and Medicare. The Republican Party should be a party that's dedicated to proposing solutions for these challenges, conservative solutions. Instead, in many ways, it's become a party of grievance, and that's why a lot of voters have turned away from the Republican Party. All of this nastiness in our politics, the constant attacks, this issue of trying to split Americans, to divide and conquer based on their identities, whether it's racial or ethnic or anything else. This is unhealthy for the country, and obviously it's also unhealthy for the Republican Party. So as a private citizen starting in January, I'm going to continue doing my best to make sure that this party goes back to being a party of solutions, of ideas that can improve quality of life in our great country.
All right, so tell us more about that. What are your plans?
So I don't have details yet, but look, I've worked on some big issues here over the last 4 years. Obviously, tax reform being one of them as a member of the Committee on Ways and Means, and I'm satisfied with our work there. But I've worked on some off-committee issues, too, like climate and the environment, proposed a big solution to carbon dioxide emissions, that would also fund infrastructure in our country. I've worked on immigration, dedicated weeks of my life to trying to build a compromise here that could get across the finish line. And I've also worked on cannabis reform. So those are three issues that I'm passionate about. And as I look to the next chapter of my life, I'm going to remain active in all three. And again, show how our party is capable of building solutions to the big policy challenges of our time.
You think one of your subsequent chapters may include a return to politics?
I think so. There will be a time for that. I certainly have the passion for it. I've had a wonderful experience here. I only have gratitude for my community, for my family, for my friends, for everyone who made my service here possible. And it's certainly something that I would consider doing again in the future, again, because I think I have something to contribute and because it's been a wonderful experience despite the difficulty of operating in the political space these days.
So before we let you go, you mentioned how divided the country is, and nowhere is that more apparent than Florida, given the recounts that are going on. You mentioned the senatorial and the gubernatorial races there. What happens next in the recount? What needs to happen from your estimation?
Well, look, I think it's pretty clear that both Governor Scott and Congressman DeSantis are going to win their races. And what I would ask our Democratic friends is to let it go. I mean, all these lawsuits, the efforts to change the rules after the election, I think those undermine our democracy. And don't get me wrong, every vote must be counted, and we have to get an accurate count. But now that the manual recounts are all but completed, it's pretty evident that the result isn't going to change. And what our Democratic friends need to do is recognize that Rick Scott's going to be the next senator for Florida, and that Ron DeSantis is going to be the next governor for Florida. And only then can we start trying to heal our political wounds and hopefully start trying to work together to improve quality of life in Florida and more broadly in the country.